coming from the
I
same place
respect your
here.
courage. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, I do.
okay. Well, there's a phone between us. You're not going to throw any scrambled eggs and peppers and onions at me here. All right. So, in regard to you, Vin, as a virile, man who really likes women.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're getting into the real heart of who you passionately are. And as you are moving through your dances with females, do you feel yourself going to a point of changing how you approach women or how you are interacting with women, I should say? Because, before, when we spoke eons ago and you were just taking your baby steps here with evolution, there was a whole lot of carefreedness. And I've seen as Vinnie has evolved over these months here that you've really got more of a compassionate side to the female gender and more of an honoring of the female. So have you really looked at how you interact as differently and now from your past and how they react to you?
Well, like last night, I go out with a dame. We go out for dinner. I like to go out for dinner with dames. So we go to a restaurant for fish, and she asked me, what am I looking for in relationship? So what's changed is I'm more direct. I say, I'm just looking for some intimacy, but I'm not looking for an attachment right now. And I think she appreciated that. That was I was, whereas of course in the old days I would have said anything to get into her panties, but then I fell back into an old pattern, which is that I started to drink and I wanted to outdrink her and show her I could handle my alcohol. And we were only drinking Baileys, I'm almost embarrassed to admit. But so it's like I go back and forth between the old way and the new way, and I haven't quite found the bridge between them.
But are you getting? Obviously you've evolved quite a bit for you to be so direct and honest, and I find that that's really refreshing because the majority of poor relationship aspects comes from a lack of communication and basically just spouting what you think the other person wants to hear, not really coming from the truth or the heart. So, a little Baileys, Vinnie, give yourself a break here, it kind of brought out the little, soft heart there. It was a good thing. Yeah. But,
well, go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
No, I remember, I thought I should say this before because I'm forgetting things lately, that I remember when I started to practice, Jeff calls it, practice, being more direct, honest. I remember that it was almost like physically impossible for me to speak from that place. I remember feeling as though the way that I had maneuvered through the marketplace in this competitive economic world too was with trickery and deception. It was like how I survived. So then to speak from a more genuine place, I didn't know, I didn't understand. It had nothing. I didn't survive that way, so it felt almost like physically impossible to do it. It's something that needs to be practiced for people who've been in the survivalist, what Jeff calls survivalist vibration.
Mhm. But at the same point, look at how far you've come. And at that point, you also have to look at, okay, you were in the survivalist mentality. You were taking care of what needed to be taken care of. And as you opened up your heart, your priorities shifted. So truth was even that much more important to you. And it's so much simpler to get really some clarity when there's such open communication and truth between, relationships, intimate relationships especially, because, there's all those assumptions and mind games that come out and get played. And women come from one place notoriously, and men notoriously come from 180 degrees different. And it's very difficult to meet in the middle. Unless there's that open trust of communication where you can just say what you need to say and know that it's not going to be ridiculed or judged or condemned. And it took you a while to get out of that survivalism to get to that part, but that's really a blessing when you did. I mean, did you feel a relief? Did you feel like a weight was lifted off your shoulders in regard to being able to be so free with who you are?
No, I find it, mostly I find this annoying work that I'm doing. It's mostly I feel as though I have somewhere an inkling that it's one day going to feel good. But I don't experience the joy of it. I enjoy the game, and a lot of dames that I know, it depends what circles you travel in. So a lot of dames I know are part of they manipulate more than anybody. So we're all in this gig together, and what gets lost in the translation with all the judging is that sometimes the game is fun, and we know it's a game, but we enjoy the game. And so sometimes I just want to enjoy the game. And, how far can one person shift in one generation? I mean, at some point it becomes, you're stretching your canvas so far that it's not you're too confused in your own bones as to who you are. So you go a little bit out, but not too far before you got to come back to what you know too.
Right. You have to be true to who you are, and that's, but,
Sure.
but even in being true to who you are, there's still your ability that you did stretch it quite a bit. I mean, okay, it's one generation that you expanded upon, but just think of that influence that you're going to have for your kids. Your kids are going to look at you as, hey, Dad's not flinging the sausage as much,
Yeah.
He's
so
not,
to speak,
he's not throwing dinner on the floor.
I know,
but at the same. Go ahead.
But what, at least, I'm feeling a little revolt here, because what about the dames? I mean, you're talking.
Oh yeah, well, let's get into
it's always
the dames,
about the men and the men this and the men that. Well, we're in this together. We created this.
All right. Well,
together.
let's talk about the dames.
Have you not been
think,
manipulative in your life? Of course, what changes have you
Oh,
made?
I think. Okay, then let's get into the dames. I have some great insight in regard to women because, you guys have gotten a bad rap. I mean, I am a big supporter of men being men. I really am. I don't want a mate for me to be like me or a woman. I want him to be a man. So I really think you have, as men, as a gender, been really crushed. And women are masters of manipulation. There are no women, there's nothing a man could do that could outsmart a woman's manipulation. And I know this because I've worked with women almost 25, 30 years now, and they all have different patterns and paths, whether it's a seductive manipulation or whether it's a woe is me, I'm such a victim manipulation, or it's twisting words and comments to get their way or their needs met or validated on some way. So, there's a whole lot of crap that women do notoriously that, that this whole passive aggression, this whole passive aggressive approach to things is manipulation. And that's handed down generations upon generations of repressed women and mothers and the matriarch figures. So you've got, I hear you, Vinnie, and my heart does go out to you because it can't be easy, especially in the environment you mix with, to really just tap in, drop in, and be real, because it is a game, and it's been a game that's played for longer than the truth has come out. So, we're kind of used to playing a game if we're not evolved, and that's an awakening.
Can you get me
so, I'm sure, Vinnie, you've met many women who have, pulled at you or, flaunted or enticed or, played their little manipulative games, and it can be a little, it can be, something that you can play with, but all of a sudden when they turn it around and look at it as serious, the game's no longer a game. Have you ever experienced something like that, Vin?
Hold on, I'm just trying to get a cannoli. Get me the big one. This is I'll tell you a story quickly. That maybe is what you mean. I was with this woman once, and she was amazingly hot. I mean, she was hot in all the ways that I like hot. And she knew what to say and what to do, and I mean, you really believe she was really loved you so much, And I remember that I dropped down and opened my heart with her, and I was revealing some of the things I was guilty about, some of the organized crime things, different things that I don't talk about with anyone other than my psychotherapist. And then all of a sudden she disappears. About 3 months later, I'm at a bar with some guys there, and he starts telling a story about a woman. And for a while, I don't get it. He's saying the exact same lines. At every line, and I say, was it who? And I don't want to mention her name here on the radio, but exact same woman, using the exact same lines. I mean, she was a public figure, so we don't need to get into that. But the point. I mean, I want to, but I'm not. But the point is, she had all like a book of lines that she was using on different men to hook them in to get sex and money. So
they've written books like that.
Yeah,
there's
I
books
know.
out
I
there
see
like that.
Absolutely. And so again, I come back to this. Of course, men in the warrior way went too far with various violent, horrible things. Of course, first of all, that has to be addressed. But once we get to the next step in the way we relate on a normal day-to-day level, we're all full of shit as far as I'm concerned. And we really all need to talk from that place and talk about what happened, how this got created. If we're going to change it, we need to be honest, and we need to express our anger and then get past that and start understanding what happened to this humanity,
Right, and stop bashing the genders. The one thing I see being a woman is it's been a really common thread among women when they're in their little women's groups that, male bashing, it has become almost like a unspoken bonding session. And even little comments like, oh, he'll never get it, he's a man, or, well, what do you expect, he's a man. It encourages that separation. and even if it's something that you say in fun, or it's something that you say, to kind of commiserate with your fellow sisters, it's something that is in the back of your head somewhere that's planted that really comes out as a self-defeating prophecy in regard to relationships, because somewhere you're going to act on that belief or that thought. And I really believe that we have to dig deep here. We have to get real. We have to get true. Sure, the men have gotten, slammed for eons in regard to their lack of emotional capacity. But I don't see that anymore. I see men as opening up. I see men as evolving. And I don't see it as a right or wrong situation. But I do see women wanting to hold that seat of hierarchy in regard to knowing the soul or the emotion or love, and not really being true enough with themselves to be honest, to reveal themselves so that it can help open a male up. Do you agree with that, or do you have something that you would like to interject on that comment?
Well, one thing I've experienced is that the 3 times that I opened my heart the most, it was the women that ran away. This idea that it's always the men who can't handle deep intimacy is a big lie. That's not been my experience at all. My experience has been quite honest that quite often it's the women who can't handle it, and my friends have the same experience too. So I think we need to start telling the truth. It's one thing to talk about you want this in a man, you want that in a man. Well, what if you get it? Are you really ready
Right.
to handle it or not? You know, because I don't